I don't hear you. Good. I hear.
Hey folks, Roland Martin here, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Monday, February 11, 2019. I'm broadcasting live from Susan Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Project Gala. Coming up on today's show, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is trying to dig himself out of the scandal over blackface and Klan photos on his medical school yearbook page. He gave an interview yesterday with CBS's Gayle King where he talked about indentured servants. Really? Also, two stunning polls out of Virginia. 58% of African Americans want Northam to stay on, while 34% of Americans and 50% of Republicans say it's okay to wear blackface on Halloween. What the hell? Also, Katy Perry gets in on the blackface fashion. She's now getting condemned for a pair of shoes dealing with the issue of blackface. Also, we'll talk about Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. He, of course, was doing a couple of interviews, making it clear that he absolutely is not going to resign, further calling for an investigation. He's also losing a couple of staff members as a result of him being accused of sexual assault. Plus, Democrats there are backing off of impeachment. We'll explain to you that as well. A short sentence handed out to the cop who killed Laquan McDonald is being challenged by the Illinois Attorney General. Kwame Raoul will explain those details. Also, wait to see this video. A Broward County, Florida sheriff caught on tape harassing a black father and calling him boy. Again, more crazy cops. And when cops take your money or your car, if they just suspect you of a drug crime, that's called civil asset forfeiture. An investigative report from South Carolina says it impacts black men more than any other group. We'll talk to the reporter who broke the story. Also, Ida B. Wells becomes the first black woman to have a major street named after her in Chicago. It certainly is time. And speaking of that, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time. And it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm Roland Martin here broadcasting live in New York City from the Ziegfeld Ballroom, where Susan Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Project is having their annual gala. And so it's going to be a packed house here. We're also going to be live streaming that gala right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered after the show. And so the red carpet is going on behind me. And so all throughout the show, I'm going to be grabbing various folks who are here. Susan Taylor, of course. The honorary ball of this event, honorary chair of this event is Alicia Keys, who of course is flying from New York. Yesterday, of course, she was hosting the Grammy in Los Angeles. And so lots of folks will be coming through here. And so, again, expect for us to be interviewing folks here, but also doing our normal show. First, I want to start with Virginia, where the Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, has given a couple of interviews to The Root and the Washington Post, where he has proclaimed his innocent and saying he is calling for a FBI investigation into the two women who have accused him of sexual assault. Last week, we had one professor who accused him of forcing her to have oral sex in 2004 at the Democratic National Convention. And the second assault dropped on Friday, where a woman who attended Duke University with him saying he raped her while he was on campus. Now, Fairfax has denied all of these allegations, and he has made it perfectly clear that he is not going to resign, and he wants there to be an investigation. Now, no one has stepped up when it comes to the issue of the investigation. Who will actually lead that? We also saw last week where Democrats there were going to move forward on impeachment of Justin Fairfax. Well, they have backed off on that as of today. And so Virginia continues to be in turmoil, not only with Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, but also Governor Ralph Northam and his whole issue with blackface as well. It's just pure craziness happening in Virginia. So I'm going to deal with Northam in just a second. But right now, I want to talk about Justin Fairfax and what's going to happen with him with my panel. And first off, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, leadership strategist and also author of the book, How Exceptional Black Women Lead. She's also a resident of Virginia. Michael Brown, former vice chair of the DNC Finance Committee. Eugene Craig, CEO, Eugene Craig Organization. Avis, I want to start with you. I had you on the Tom Joyner Morning Show this morning, and you were pretty emphatic where you said that you believe that Fairfax should not resign. There should be an investigation.
Absolutely. In my mind, in America, when someone is charged with something, when someone makes an accusation, people should have the right to defend themselves. We don't go straight from accusation to guilt. There needs to be some sort of intervening investigation in between there. And so my hope is that we do slow pump on the brakes here and have an actual investigation. My fear is that when we have this sort of blind belief mentality around the Me Too movement, we may be creating a situation as women where this could come back to haunt us in the future. It hurts no one to take the time to do an actual investigation to make sure that when we move forward with punishment, we are moving forward with punishment righteously, and therefore we won't have any situation, either with this particular allegation or with those in the future, where someone might actually make an accusation that ends up not being true, and then at the end of the day, all women then are less likely to be believed. Let's take a moment to sort of slow down, do this thing right, so that we make sure that justice actually occurs.
Michael Brown is very interesting because you've seen presidential candidates, Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Cory Booker, say that Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax should resign. There have been other Democrats also saying the exact same thing. But it's very interesting when I looked at a lot of different comments on social media, the number of people, men and women, who are African American, even though both women accusing him are black, he's African American, they are saying, wait a minute, the guy should not have his career ruined until there's actually an investigation. Michael, what say you?
It's interesting. I actually co-sign a lot of what the good doctor said, because I think we've gotten into this, and it doesn't mean you don't believe the women. And certainly doesn't mean that you don't believe the women should have a fair hearing. The question is, should the pendulum swing so far that if somebody makes an accusation against somebody, their career's over, job is over, family destroyed, without any evidence of that, or at least some due process? So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And then you have other people who I've spoken to, and I'm sure you've spoken to too, Roland, and Doctor, and Eugene, that have said, wait a minute, how come the black guy has to resign? Why aren't the white guys resigning? Or why aren't they trying to figure this out? So there are a lot of different dimensions to this whole story, but clearly there has to be an investigation. has to be due process, and it also does not mean you don't believe the women when you suggest that.
So, Eugene, what is that investigation? Because Justin Fairfax has passed 2 FBI background checks before, of course. He worked on the 2004 campaign. Well, the question is it the FBI? What if they decline? What's the jurisdiction? Is it Boston, where Dr. Vanessa Tyson says she was sexually assaulted? Is it North Carolina, and where Duke, where Meredith Watson said that she was raped? Is it the Virginia Assembly? And so the question then becomes, folks say, yeah, there should be an investigation, but who does the investigation?
Well, I'm going to quote the great Scott Bolden here. I think probably the jurisdiction is where the crimes are alleged to have occurred. So that would be Boston, that would be North Carolina. But, I have to agree with Michael and Davis here. You have to have due process. Part of the women getting justice, if this did happen, is actually having an investigation and giving Justin Fairfax his due process rights of actually thoroughly looking at this, looking at all the facts, looking at all of the contemporaneous evidence, all the possible witness statements, which I think is, somewhat interesting that the ladies aren't calling for an investigation themselves. They aren't, asking for charges to be filed. They aren't asking for authorities to step in and rectify this and provide them with justice. They're asking for his resignation, which I think, does speak volumes to the situation.
Well, and they even speak to that because in the case of Meredith Watson, apparently what her lawyers did, they sent their letter to Justin Fairfax's lawyers saying he should resign by 3 p.m. or sometime in the afternoon, or we're going public.
Absolutely.
And in that letter, she says, I'm not seeking money. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to go public. And so that's raised a lot of questions that if you're bringing this out, you say that a man raped you, and you're saying, all I want you is to resign. That sort of struck people as sort of odd.
Exactly. Do you want justice because you were raped? Or do you just want him to resign? And if that is your only barometer of success in terms of what you're looking to achieve, exactly why is that? And I also find that at the end of both letters, actually, they both ended with the statement that was tantamount to, well, this is all we have to say on the matter, which to me is analogous to saying, don't ask me any questions, don't expect me to say anything about this. And now that we have sort of ramped up to this particular stage where there was at least a threat of impeachment, once again, similarly, they both came out and said that we would testify at an impeachment hearing. But, when you have impeachment hearings, particularly at the House level, just the impeachment process, that does not require you to be under oath, okay?
Yep.
And it does not require any other sort of factors to be brought in to make sure, frankly, that people are telling the truth. It's just an opportunity for you to make a statement. And so the level of veracity that they're putting behind these charges, to me, falls below what we've seen in other examples. So, for example, if you just quickly compare this to Dr. Blasey Ford, who came out against Kavanaugh, here's what she did. She wanted an investigation. From the very beginning, she was calling for an FBI investigation. She came to the table already with corroborating evidence in terms of the notes with her therapist that she had told for years prior to Kavanaugh even being considered for the Supreme Court. She also came forward with a polygraph test that she took voluntarily, which she passed. And interestingly, Kavanaugh didn't want to take a polygraph test. And as I said, the entire time she was pushing for an investigation. That's what people protested for. Let me tell you, that's what I got arrested for, an investigation of those charges. And so I find it very interesting that the only ask here with these 2 alleged victims is impeachment. How do we move towards, how is that justice, rather than searching for the truth and getting it out in the open? I just don't get that. It just seems like an interesting end game. If I am the one that's aggrieved, I want everyone to know all the facts, and then I want him to be punished beyond just losing his job.
Roland,
Michael, look, it's first of all, Michael, look, it's public knowledge that, look, you had to deal with the issue of a bribery scandal in Washington, D.C., serving time in federal prison. FBI came knocking on your door. The reality is, when the FBI comes knocking on your door in any investigation, you can't lie to them, because if you lie to them, then that's also a federal crime.
If they're knocking on your door, you're in enough trouble. Best thing to do is not lie anymore. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what makes this, first of all, the whole thing is a mess. And with the lieutenant governor, he is obviously saying he did not do it. He's denying it. Then we've talked about the due process. And then you have the attorney general and the governor that have both admitted doing some racist acts, which is the blackface, and they're being held to a whole different standard. So the whole thing is just a mess. Right. There's a double standard, triple standard. It's just, it's unfortunate.
Eugene, go ahead. Final comment.
The thing is this, if the investigation happens, well, two things. First is that them demanding that he do something by a particular time, or they're going to release something, could be almost tantamount to blackmail, if not, some form of extortion. Secondly, if there actually is an investigation, part of the investigation will be the victims, the alleged victims here, being cross-examined, having their stories thoroughly looked at, beyond just a press release put out by the law firms representing them. And that's why, I think it is really telling that they don't want to speak on the matter any more beyond a well-crafted lawyerly statement. Because the thing is this, they aren't asking for justice, they're asking for his head, like his office.
All right, let's talk about Governor Ralph Northam. Yesterday, he talked to CBS's Gayle King about his blackface scandal, the only sit-down interview that he has done, and he left folks scratching their heads after this.
What have you learned that you didn't know before?
Well, several things, starting with I was born in white privilege, and that has implications to it, and it is much different the way a white person such as myself is treated in this country.
Did you not know that you were born into white privilege?
I knew I was, Ms. King, but I didn't realize really the powerful implications of that. And again, talking to a lot of friends, that has come crystal clear to me this week. I've also learned why the use of blackface is so offensive. And yes, I knew it in the past, but reality has really set in.
But Governor, it's hard for people listening to you, an educated man at the age of 59, to say that you're just learning about the history of it. You didn't know the history and know that it was offensive before?
I think we're all on a learning curve, and certainly, Ms. King, I am not the same person now at age 59 that I was back in my early 20s.
But your early 20s was 1984, not 1964.
That's right. Here, as I sit as a 59-year-old man governing the Commonwealth of Virginia, this is really an opportunity, I believe, to make awareness of this issue, to really have a frank dialogue and discussion about race and equity in this country. And, if you look at Virginia's history, we're now at the 400-year anniversary. Just 90 miles from here, in 1619, the first indentured servants from Africa landed on our shores in Old Point Comfort, what we call now Fort Monroe. And while
also known as slavery.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Avis, take it away.
That's my governor. So it is so much. Okay, to be honest, the history is a little interesting here. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's the first thing I will say. I don't believe that he has enough command of the history of black history to really understand what the heck he's saying anyway, okay? The reality is that there was a system of indentured servitude at the time that the first Africans were brought to Jamestown, Virginia. However, they came to this country against their will. I mean, imagine having...
They were stolen.
Yes, they were stolen. They were taken away from their family, from everything they knew, everything they loved. They were plopped on the other side, and in the intervening time, they were abused horribly. Many died. Those who survived came here to a land that they did not know. They knew no one. They did not know the language. Imagine even in that context being told that you have to work for free for several years. Is that a prize? No. That actually was analogous to the form of slavery that was common in that time period. Typically, in that time period, slavery was used for people that were captured at the time of war. So prisoners of war oftentimes had labor that they did over a limited period of time. We, over the course of our history in this nation, eventually transferred that into chattel slavery, which became passed down maternally from generation to generation. But before that, to me, that is slavery. That is slavery. They did not have the choice to come here like Europeans, which many of them did, and they weren't criminals. The Europeans that came here against their will came here because they were criminals in their homeland, and instead of serving prison,
Michael,
they came here. Sorry,
Michael,
I'm a Virginia resident. I know
the Washington Post did a poll. The Washington Post did a poll, and it's 47% to 47% in terms of African Americans in terms of whether he should step down. Okay, now African Americans, first of all, the total poll was 47-47. 58% of African Americans say he should not step down. So what's interesting about this is these weird views for whites, Democrats, independents. Do you think, Michael, that that's the polling data because of the allegations against Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, and because Attorney General Mark Herring had his own blackface issue, and that black folks are being very pragmatic, saying, look, we don't want to see the top 3 Democrats in Virginia all quit because the person who become governor is a Republican. Do you think that's what's behind these numbers?
I think it's certainly possible that there's a percentage of that that's behind the numbers. By the way, Roland, are these citizens from around the country, or these Virginia people that were polled? Do you know? I couldn't find that out. This is Virginia. Well, then there's also a piece of it, too, where you could have people saying, you know what, I'm so used to this stuff growing up in Virginia. And yes, I'm glad we're turning the corner and we're becoming more of a purple state and things are changing. But all my friends back in elementary school, I didn't grow up in Virginia, but I'm just saying what people may say is, you know what, I had friends that did this at Halloween costume parties when I was a teenager in college. I'm so used to it, I don't care. I just want to make sure he does right by us now that he's in office. That's one piece of it. The other piece is what you just articulated, which is they're putting it all together. They're able to say, voters are able to put different pieces together and say, you know what, if the white guys aren't going, I don't want the brother going. Mm-hmm. And they're able to do that. So that's why the poll probably looks the way it does.
Eugene?
I'm actually interested to see when this poll was taken. If it was taken after the after the second Fairfax situation hit, but also during what's becoming a Northam rebrand of, hey, I want to stay and focus on racial inequality. So if folk were receiving that message right around the time the poll was conducted, I can understand the numbers. Other than that, I think this poll may be an outlier, at least it is anecdotally, to what I'm hearing from folk in Virginia.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second to go to a break. We come back, we're going to talk about several different things, including the issue of civil asset forfeiture, how that affects poor African Americans. All this next on Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasted live from New York City, site of Susan Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Project Gala. Back in a moment. Hey, fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. All right, folks, now a message from one of our partners. Are you desperate for a good night's sleep? Well, then listen up. Studies show lack of sleep causes stress, irritability, weight gain, and even death. But you already know how bad it is when you don't get enough sleep, don't you? You've tried sleeping pills with their annoying and potentially dangerous side effects. Always a problem. Maybe you wasted money on the latest miracle pillow that promises a good night's sleep. Have those worked? No. I might have a solution for you. It's convenient, inexpensive, has zero side effects, and it flat out works. So if you want to experience deep, restful sleep starting tonight, visit www.sleepmusic.com. This little-known trick is already helping thousands of people around the world experience better sleep, deeper rest, and happier mornings. And with a full 90-day money-back satisfaction guarantee, what have you got to lose? So visit sleepmusic.com to see how this amazing sleep solution can help you. Use the promo code RADIO to get $10 off. That's www.sleepmusic.com, and use the promo code RADIO to get $10 off. Folks, over the weekend, a 1-year-old boy was shot during a drive-by in Chicago. Police believe the child's mother was the target, who was in the front passenger seat. The child, Dejon Irving, was shot in the head, taken to Corner Children's Hospital, and listed in very critical condition. The gunman has not been identified, but there is a $35,000 reward raised by various community groups for anyone who can offer any information in this case. Also coming out of Chicago, and that is the Attorney General of Illinois, Kwame Roland. He is going to appeal the sentence of Jason Van Dyke, the former Chicago cop who was convicted of second-degree murder for killing Laquan McDonald. Many folks were upset at the judge for only sentencing Van Dyke to 81 months. Prosecutors wanted 18 years. Well, now, again, the Attorney General, Kwame Roland, is officially seeking to force a reconsideration of the 81-month sentence with a petition to the Illinois Supreme Court. Raul says he is specifically challenging Cook County Judge Vincent Goggins' decision to sentence Van Dyke for just second-degree murder and not for each of the 16 counts of aggravated battery, one for each shot fired at McDonald.
Specifically, this petition asks the Illinois Supreme Court to decide whether or not the trial court judge acted improperly by determining that Van Dyke's sentence based on his second-degree murder conviction rather than his convictions on 16 counts of aggravated battery with a firearm. We are also asking the court to decide whether the judge was incorrect when he stated during the sentencing that 16 aggravated battery counts merge into a single act for the purposes of sentencing, rather than sentencing Van Dyke on each one of the 16 counts. Our petition argues that if the Supreme Court orders a new sentencing hearing, it should also order the trial judge to follow precedent by imposing sentence on all 16 counts, and then determine whether one or more sentences must be consecutive.
We will certainly keep you updated on what happens in that case. Now let's go to Florida, where Alan Floyd of the Broward County, Florida, was holding his infant son after the woman watching the boy was arrested. Then Broward County Sheriff Deputy James Katy comes along and begins to harass Floyd with foul and demeaning language. Watch the body cam footage, which took place on July 25th, 2017.
Get your ID for me, bro.
38, the boyfriend's back to the grandmother. They are separated.
Because if I'm going to hand that child to you, whether that picture or not, I want to see the ID. I want to see your ID. Okay, listen. Okay, fine. I'm going to take her to jail because she got a warrant, okay? I'm going to call child services on this kid. Don't quit with me, boy.
Why are you yelling?
You hear me? Get your ID now.
ID.
Now. Get your ass back in the car. I'm tired of playing games with you. Get me some ID. Now.
Why you being so hostile?
Because you give me I'm tired of it. Give me some ID.
I came here to try to be helpful. I ain't got loud.
You ain't being it. Give me some ID. Now.
For what?
I want to know who this baby going with. Now.
With me, Alan Floyd.
No. Give me your ID.
My name is Alan Floyd. You can look me up. My name is Alan Floyd.
If you lie to me one time, I'm taking your ass to jail. You understand me?
Baby, man.
Come on.
Stop calling me boy, man. What you doing?
I'm gonna fuck you up. Take my name.
I just told him my name.
Get the baby. Why you grabbing the baby, man? You fucking doing
man. Shut up. I ain't doing nothing.
You're gonna go, man.
I ain't doing nothing.
You listen. Get your drunk ass over there.
Let me get out of here. Come on, move, man.
You gonna understand me? You gonna communicate?
Yeah. Why you doing that to me, man? Look at my son. He got a problem.
You did it.
I didn't. You asked me my name. I gave you my name.
You said I'm
You said my name. I'm gonna be in trouble. I said it's my name.
What did I ask you the first time? Give me your ID.
My name is Alan Floyd, sir.
We gonna go the hard way. Let's do
No,
it.
it's not the hard way. It's the sensible way. We can communicate like men.
I have to give you ID. You said I don't have to give you my ID.
No, I did not say that. I said what for?
I told you 3 times.
Well, I never said I wasn't giving you my ID. No, nothing. I never said I wasn't telling you my name. I asked you what for. Get in the car. This is it. Everybody do this. Just chill.
I've been in another unit.
It's gonna get nasty real quick, bro. Come over here and talk to me, man. Get her under control first. Get her under control.
You just moved over here.
Sit down in the car.
Get down in the car.
Get in the car. Get in the car, man.
Okay, grab your baby. Grab your baby to a cop crying. You gonna talk to me like a man, you come over and talk to me.
Now, folks, Floyd wasn't under investigation. Broward County Public Defender Howard Finkelstein reached out to newly appointed Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney, an African-American, and asked for an investigation of Deputy Katy's actions. Sheriff Toney has opened an investigation. Now, in Florida, when you say your name, as Alan Floyd did, you have legally provided identification. Deputy Katy has a history of making false arrests. I want to go to Michael Brown. Michael, look. This is the stuff that we see over and over and over again. Officers are supposed to de-escalate a situation, not escalate. That's exactly what this guy did.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as simple as the lack of training of our police officers, or are some of these things just so systemic, both in them and in the departments, that this is just what they do. Either way, clearly it's wrong. It's disgusting. And it's just a shame that this happens in America in 2019. But clearly something has to be fixed, whether it's some kind of punishment, some kind of remedy, not just in this case, but a much more global thought processes about how our police officers deal with people that don't look like them.
Eugene, again, if it wasn't for the body camera footage, this cop could have said the guy attacked me, cursed me out. We saw and heard saw with our own eyes, heard with our own ears, the arrogance of this deputy sheriff.
Yeah, I think the arrogance. This deputy sheriff makes, there are a lot of good cops, a lot of bad cops. But this deputy sheriff makes a lot of the good cops look bad because they can't tell the difference sometimes because the situation is just like this. One, thank God there was body cam footage because that cop could have said anything. First and foremost, he was ignorant of the law himself. The second the gentleman gave him his name, every cop, every officer these days has a computer that's Wi-Fi linked to a system where they can look up anybody, any tag, any name, and could have very well just done that. Driver license information would have popped right up. But what this officer did was he, decided to flex his badge and flex his muscle, and decided to, extremely escalate the situation and took what could have been a minor brush fire and threw a whole tanker of gas on it.
You guys can stretch.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, mine can stretch.
All right, and you know what, Eugene, you talk about these kind of issues, and clearly, how many times have we been on this set and on this show to see how many things happen like this related to police officers and people of color? It happens, daily, hourly in America? And so clearly something, I think, more has to be done than just giving the assumption. What did your boy Ronald Reagan say? Trust but verify. And I think that's what we have to do with training with our police officers is, yes, I'm not like that. You don't have to worry about me. But you need to sit in that class and understand what diversity training really means, sensitivity training. Hopefully that will help because clearly this officer clearly either didn't focus if there was training, he wasn't paying attention, he was texting, or is this so deeply embedded in him that he can't help but to not like black people?
I agree with
story. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Let's talk about another story talking about deeply embedded. Listen to this story, okay? Because this speaks to the same problem that we have in this country when it comes to how police operate, okay? When a man barged into Isaiah Kinlock's apartment and broke a bottle over his head, the North Charleston resident called 911. After cops arrived on that day in 2015, they searched the injured man's home and found an ounce of marijuana. So they took $1,800 in cash from his apartment and kept it. This is one of the many stories in an important investigation of the Greenville News in Greenville, South Carolina, of a practice known as civil asset forfeiture. A civil asset forfeiture is when the cops seize money or goods if they merely suspect drugs are involved. No shock that the reporters found African Americans suffer from this practice more than any other group. Here's what the article discovered. Black men pay the price for this program. They represent 13% of the state's population, yet 65% of all citizens targeted for civil forfeiture in the state are black males. If you are white, you are twice as likely to get your money back than if you're black. Nearly 1/5 of people who had their assets seized weren't charged with a related crime. Roughly the same number, nearly 800 people, were charged with a crime but not convicted. That means around 40% of the people whose cash or possessions were seized were not convicted of a crime. One of the reporters who broke this story is Mike Ellis, investigative reporter for the Greenville News. Mike joins us right now. Mike, I got to tell you, we've seen this story all across the country. We've seen other examples of civil asset forfeiture. You even have folks like the Koch brothers who are against this. Libertarians are against this. But to see this there in Greenville, was it shocking to you and editors when you saw the real numbers?
Hi, I think I might have cut off there a little bit. All right, thank you.
Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go right ahead. So was it shocking to you to see those numbers and how black men were mostly impacted by civil asset forfeiture?
I think when we talked to a lot of experts, we talked to a lot of people about this, common response was shocked but not shocked. What we had found has been discussed a lot before. This isn't coming out of left field, but what we were able to do is go through an entire state, 3 years worth of data. There's been a lot of excellent reporting on civil forfeiture. A lot of it is focused on the federal side or on regional sides, such as in Philadelphia. But nobody, as far as we've been able to tell, as far as experts have told us, has looked at state-by-state data. So I think go back to the surprised but not surprised. Having this data in front of us helps us to tell you exactly what we found in South Carolina, which was, as you said, black men are bearing the brunt of this civil forfeiture in the state to a significant degree.
So, Mike, are state legislators saying anything? Are they saying, let's look at the laws to protect citizens as opposed to police departments in a sense like happened in other places around the country where they literally would have a laundry list of items they wanted and they eventually got it through civil asset forfeiture?
Yeah, we've actually heard some great results from legislators. A lot of them have previously tried and failed to get anything passed. But this year, we're headed down on Wednesday to our state capitol. A group of bipartisan legislators are introducing a bill that would make South Carolina, in their words, the gold standard of civil forfeitures. In many ways, it would model after New Mexico's laws, which would require a conviction. In South Carolina and many other states right now, police can take items on the side of the road for suspicion of a crime. It doesn't have to be a conviction. One of our important findings was about 1 in 5 civil forfeiture cases in our state and are associated with no criminal charges whatsoever. Another almost 1 in 5 have no convictions whatsoever. So that's an awful lot of cases that are not gone through the judicial system, and the police are still able to seize and keep the property in most of these cases.
All right, Mike, we surely appreciate, man, your reporting. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to go to my panel here. I'm going to start with you, Eugene. This is an issue that we have seen Democrats and Republicans and Libertarians on the same side. And what's also amazing, though, is that, you have many folks who support law enforcement. They got no problem with cops doing civil asset forfeiture. I remember when Donald Trump met with this group of sheriffs, they said, oh, we need this. And you're going, wait a minute, you're taking the property, you're taking money, cars, other items of people, many who never, ever even get charged. That is grotesque in this country.
Yeah, it's crazy. So actually, civil asset forfeiture in Maryland, 2 years ago, the Maryland General Assembly actually passed a bill that Governor Hogan signed, curbing civil asset forfeiture. Had the support of Freedom Works, had the support of groups on the left, and I believe now that Maryland, you have to have a conviction to have your assets seized. But for a lot of departments around the country, it helps them pad their budgets. It helps them get things that they ordinarily wouldn't have. I mean, there's like one infamous case where they had seized a margarita mixer and threw it in their break room. And, a department, I forget where it was, but it's been a plague on communities of color, many poor communities. They have your money stolen, have your money taken, have your car impounded, all on suspicion and never being charged with a crime.
Michael?
It's exactly right, and clearly it's all stereotypical because the reason that these forfeitures occur is because there's an assumption that the money or the products gained by the money is drug money or somehow solicited in some bad way. So if you're a person of color and you have $1,800 in your apartment in cash, or you have a nice car, they're going to take that and seize it, and they're assuming that once you get to court and once you get to trial, that you're going to get convicted for some kind of drug offense, and they'll be able to keep the money and now justify them taking it. And that's what's so a shame about what's going on today in America.
Avis, this is how poor people are essentially ripped off by police departments and targeted for their resources.
Absolutely. I don't even call it asset seizure. I call it theft, because that's exactly what this is. And I don't even give them as much, sort of leeway as Michael is so kindly giving them. I think they target people and they steal from people because they can. And I also know that oftentimes in poor communities, those communities don't even have financial institutions in those communities. There's a large number of folks who are unbanked in this country. So they don't have any place where they go and have a checking account where they can keep their money. They keep their money in cash. And so the reason why they are targeted in this way is because these people are taking cash. They're also taking other sort of products, things that they purchase, cars and other things, even the margarita mixer, because they can. That's what this is. They are pilfering a community because they know they can get away with it.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. I'm going to go to a break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
I felt so tall within, I felt the power of a nation within me. Abolitionist and women's rights advocate, Sojourner Truth.
All right, folks, HBCU Giving Day University is Albany State University, founded in 1903, located in Albany, Georgia. Notable alumni include Joe Marie Payton, Shirley Sherrod, Alex Coachman, Rick Ross, and Caldwell Jones. To support them, go to ASU Rams, asurams.edu. All right, folks, calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders. Enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply is March 31st, 2019. Go to fgb.life. That's fgb.life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our communities. Folks, here's an update on the story of the missing black woman in Columbus, Ohio. Amber Evans still has not been found. We're now into the second week of her disappearance. Evans is an active and well-known community organizer. Her abandoned car has been found, but no sign of Amber Evans. Now, the latest police missing persons alert. We read this before, so we really need her to be found. Distraught, high risk, missing. CPD, that's Columbus Police Department, is searching for 28-year-old Amber Evans. She's a light-skinned black female. Her vehicle was discovered in this Scioto Mile area the evening of 1/28/19 after a dispute with her boyfriend. CPD's missing persons unit number is 614-645-4280, 614-645-4280. 4280. And you certainly must keep the pressure up on Columbus, Ohio media and the police department to ensure that she has been found. All right, folks, for the first time in Chicago, a black woman is getting a downtown street named after her. Congress Parkway was officially renamed Ida B. Wells today. Take a look.
3, 2, 1. So I have to admit, I was feeling some kind of way when I saw that sign outside today. I also thought we were going to go outside and do this, which is why I brought boots and stuff. But y'all, it's been an amazing morning. I'm sure that the alderman or someone would like to make a few final words, but time's up.
Now, Wells' great-granddaughter, Michelle Duster, led the charge to get the street named after the activist and journalist who dedicated her career to civil rights and eventually settled in Chicago. This is just the first step in honoring Wells in Chicago. A monument will be erected in honor of her at the former site of the Ida B. Wells homes, a housing authority complex that was torn down in 2011. And I, of course, was happy to be one of the folks who actually gave to erect that monument. All right, folks, as I said, I'm here in New York City at Susan B. Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Project. This is, of course, the fourth year they've had this gala to raise funds for her National Cares Mentoring movement. So there are a lot of people who are here. And joining me right now, of course, is someone very familiar with our show, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. So always good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Roland.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, let's talk about, one, I got to get your thoughts on the craziness happening in Virginia.
One concern that I have there is that while all the focus on the guy with blackface 35 years ago and ignore Senator Hines Smith from Mississippi who said she was still in the front row of a lynching. What's the threshold? The governor of Florida referred to Gillum as monkey business. The governor of Georgia stole the election from Stacey Abrams. And so it seems that we cannot narrow the focus, our lenses, just on Virginia. What they did was abhorrent. Unfortunately, racism is not illegal. Therefore, they'll keep their positions.
Also, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax says there should be an investigation. He is not going to resign. Do you believe that is fair? Serious charges leveled against him. He says there should be due process.
Well, you cannot suspend due process. One thing I learned during the Johnny Cochran, O.J. trial, one day you can be persuaded one direction, next day another. So we need to, if they can wait 10 to 18 years, the Senate can wait for due process. Due process should not be suspended and investigation is warranted. And that way you respect all people involved.
And so let's talk about this event. How important is it what Susan Taylor has done, creating this national movement to mentor black kids all across America?
The opposite, you have Trump locking up children in cages in Texas, and she mentoring children in New York. This is the morally correct thing to do.
All right. Always good to see you. Wall Street Party is coming up soon?
February 20th through 22nd. Maxine Waters speaking, and Congressman Greg Meeks, and about 30 caucus members will be there, and Roland Martin.
All right. I appreciate it, Doc. Good seeing you. Thanks a bunch. All right, then. And so I'm going to pull over here. Reverend Al Sharpton over here. Okay, excuse me 1 second. She's coming across. Okay, I'm actually live right now. So you just see Marcia Dyson just jump on up in here. Oh, good to see you as well. Yes. So let me do my thing. Let me go to work. Now get on out of here. Let's come over here. Reverend Sharpton. Yes, grab him. Grab Sharpton. All right, so this is what happens when you're live. And so I was ready to interview Reverend Sharpton. And so in just a second. And so we're going to talk to him. And so we're going to pull him over in just a second. And also we'll be... Okay, all right. So then we'll also be talking to, in a second, to Susan Taylor. What's up, Rashad? What's going on? So, of course, that's Rashad Robinson, of course, Color of Change, who decided to just swing on by. Get over here. I mean, you got time before you jump on a red carpet. So I got Rashad Robinson, Executive Director, Color of Change. Always good to see you. First, we were talking earlier about, before we get to this, we were talking earlier about Virginia. Do you believe in the case. So what's your thoughts on Northam? Should he resign? Should there be due process and investigation for Fairfax? What do you make of the craziness in Virginia?
Well, Northam said that he did it, that it was him at first. And so I do think he needs to resign. We can't trust him to follow. I think there needs to be due process with Fairfax, and we need to dig into what actually happened. And then there's got to be accountability for whatever the story is that comes out. And then, when it comes to the AG, I think that that's a little bit more complicated. And I think that story also needs to be dug into. This, though, simply can't be about Democrats or Republicans. It does have to be about who can lead, what's the future of the state. But all of this comes down to the bottom line is that as we head into 2020, we have to do a solid vetting of all of these candidates. We have to really dig into their past and their future, and we've got to hold people accountable.
And I got to ask you this here. This initiative here, this mentoring project, is a major deal and has grown like crazy over the past 5 years.
Well, anything that Susan Taylor has her hands in, you want to be part of. And I've gotten a chance to both work with Susan, to benefit from her advice and mentorship as I've led Color of Change. And I'm here to just support the incredible work that she has done at just putting her sort of loving vision around our youth and letting them know that there are people there that are for them, that support them, and want them to succeed. And so I'm just so impressed and in awe of everything that Susan does and what this great organization is doing.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Good seeing you. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, speaking of Susan Taylor, she's right here. Recently turned, I love these people who just, one second, just walk across the camera. They ain't work. And so Susan Taylor, y'all, just turned 73 a couple of weeks ago. And so, as you know, black don't crack. And so we're going to chat with her in a second. Queen, what's happening?
Wow, it's happening tonight. I'm so excited. It's a sellout evening. We're going to raise a lot of money. And we're here for our children. This is the joy that we can dress up, we can be fly, fabulous, and do the critical work of restoring the village, rebuilding our own lives and the lives of our people who are struggling.
This is now how old?
This is the fourth annual.
Fourth Gala, but the project is older than that.
Oh, the movement is really 14 years old. Started right after Katrina devastated New Orleans, and I said to the Essence family, we just can't go back to New Orleans and have a party. It always had a purpose, but we have to deepen the purpose because our children are suffering. And so we asked people all throughout the country to go back to their respective cities and to mentor children. And here we are now, with 58 cities across the country and our volunteer army, who you saw probably on the red carpet. And just what we need to do is really open more hearts and have more people care about poverty.
How many folks are you now mentoring, and how many chapters? Because this thing has just been spreading and spreading.
It's been pretty amazing. We have really mentored over 250,000 young people. Well, let me say that again. We have mentored over 200,000 young people, and we've recruited more than 250,000 mentors. That's the opposite. Let me go again. We've recruited over 250,000 mentors. We recruit mentors, we train them, and then we deploy them. Able, stable, middle-class people, we train them, Roland, so they don't look down on people in poverty who may speak differently, who may not have the clothes we have, and just to open people's hearts so that we're compassionate. And we have touched the lives of over 250,000 young people.
And when you talk about, again, how you've done it, you've been very strategic, and the training is a big part of it. When I think back to Dorothy Cotton, SCLC. When I think back to many of those organizations, you had to be trained before you went out into the field. And that's something that's often lost on a lot of organizations.
That's right. We have a protocol. We have a philosophy. We have a framework that was created by 60 Brain Trust members, people whose names we all know, from Naeem Akbar to Jesse Jackson, Harry Belafonte, people who gathered over a couple of weeks and over years and put together 10 pillars that we believe that if African American people really adhered to and imbued those principles and lived them, we would heal ourselves and our children.
Last question. You just had a birthday.
I did, 73. I'm proud of it. That's right.
It was always good to be here. We had, of course, be here to broadcast, and it was important to be here as well, so always good to see you.
Thank you, Roland. I love you. So I hope you enjoy the night.
You know it.
I know. Yeah, I will.
All right.
I'll enjoy watching you. Watch it.
I appreciate it. Susan Taylor, thanks a lot, folks. My apologies, still getting over my cold. Now, as we were talking, Tina Lawson, Beyonce's mama, her husband, actor Richard Lawson, they also about to walk the red carpet. And then I just saw my man Maxwell as well. And so we're going to try to grab them before we go off. So we've got about 7 more minutes of the show before we go off. Now, here's the other thing that's happening. So they're also live streaming this event all across to different sites. And so we're also going to tap into that live stream as well. So we'll be streaming this on Roland Martin Unfiltered as well. So we're looking forward to doing that as well. And so how you doing? Step on over here. And so here are a couple of the honorees tonight. And so just tell folks your name.
Daryl McKissick, Cheryl McKissick Daniel.
So good seeing y'all. So folks who don't know, I already know. But tell them, what do y'all do?
We do design and construction.
Now, y'all probably at home like, black women doing design and construction. So tell folks the history who are unfamiliar with your family history.
So our history dates back 5 generations. The first descendant of our family came here in 1905 as a slave. I'm 1790 as a 1790 as a slave, and this award tonight. And was taught the trade of making bricks, and the company passed down from there to a master carpenter, and then our grandfather and his brother are the first black licensed architects in the country, with license 117 and 118 in the state of Tennessee. We are now countrywide: New York, Philadelphia, Miami, Chicago, LA, Texas. We're in Texas, Houston, Washington, D.C.
Y'all pretty busy.
We're the probably the first national African-American architectural engineering and construction management firm in the country.
And so I'm sure some people will be shocked to say, y'all actually doing that? So you put the hard hats on, you're going out to the sites and let folks know who the boss is?
Absolutely. We do it good too, Roland. Hard hats, and high heels.
It's always good seeing y'all. Congratulations on being on tonight, and look forward to a great event.
All right. Thank you, Roland.
Right, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And again, folks, we're here at the National Cares Mentoring Movement. And so they've started the program thus far. And so what I'm doing here is I'm spotting folks who are all over here because they're about to close the red carpet down because, again, the event is going to begin about 7 o'clock. And so what I'm doing is I'm waiting to see if my man Maxwell will get over here before we go off. And so I'm checking right now. And so I know we got about 5 more minutes left. First of all, let me do this here. Let me thank Eugene, Michael, and Avis, our panel today. I appreciate them joining us today. So I want to do that before we go off.
Appreciate it.
While I am waiting over here, and so we are, again, waiting for... So waiting for them to get over here. And so as I look over here, so if you probably zoom in, you will see over there Maxwell in the corner. He's talking to Kefra Burns. He, of course, is the husband of Susan Taylor. And so they're over there talking. As I said, Tina Lawson, Beyonce's mama, is here. That's her baby. And then Richard Lawson, of course, her husband, is here as well. And so I'm trying to grab one of them before we go off. And so that's what I'm waiting on. And so it is a packed house. And so do this here. You're just pan to the right over there. If you can, pan to the right, Gary. And so you'll be able to see the ballroom over there as well. And so Reverend Sharp, he's at the microphone as we speak. He is starting the program, and so that's what. So I'll be down there in a second. Last year, y'all, it was an amazing program. Cicely Tyson, she was honored, and her speech was amazing. We actually live streamed that, and so we'll try to put that out there again as well. We would love for y'all to be able to hear what she had to say. As I said, Alicia Keys, who last night hosted the Grammys in Los Angeles, is the honorary chair of this ball. She's making her way to New York for this event as well. And so we are also looking to grab her. We'll probably grab her afterwards, and then I'll just have the video for you guys tomorrow. As Susan Taylor said, this is 14 years the National Cares Mentoring Movement has been taking place. After Katrina, after so many people were displaced, Susan Taylor, in essence, held an event, held a rally there in New Orleans. We were there. We covered that event. And one of the things that she said is that we can't just focus on one event, have a rally, and then leave from there. And what she said is it was after that rally, she said we have to do something and realize that so many of our children need to be mentored, need to have someone who is helping them and advising them. And so the stories, folks, have been truly amazing. The stories of many of the young folks who've actually come through this movement, who've actually been mentored by many of these folks. And so this really is important. If you go to Twitter, if you go to their Facebook page, you go to their website, National Cares Mentoring Project, you can sign up. 250,000 mentors all across the country who have come through this program and been trained. And the young folks who they have touched has been truly, truly amazing. And so what we are doing is really, sorry, Doc. What we're doing is, I love he just walk in front of a camera like I'm not standing here. And so what we're doing is supporting them. And so Susan asked me to come. She said, got to have you here. 3 years ago, I did the auction where we raised a bunch of money for them as well. And so that was always great and important. And so what I'm doing here, again, is I'm waiting for so folks have got Richard and they've got Maxwell hemmed up. And so I'm trying to grab one of those guys to get over here before we go off. And so we can shut this off because it's 6:59. So we're going to almost done. And so I'm going to see if my handlers over there can grab one of them before we go. And so that's what I'm waiting on as we speak. And so I got him, but pull him. Don't tell them I got to go to Maxwell now. See, part of the deal, you got other folks who are doing interviews over there right now, but we're not going to wait. So we're still going to get them in a second. And again, I do want to grab Max before we go off because he's a huge supporter of it. Last year, he's a huge supporter of this. Last year also, Jesse Smollett was here as well. So a lot of folks, a lot of entertainers have really been helping out Susan and the various mentors with this particular project all across the country. And so we appreciate all that they do. And so, and this is called For the Love of Our Children Gala. So do this, folks, also. So you want to follow this on Twitter, on Facebook. The hashtag is CaresGala19. Hashtag CaresGala19. And so that is the hashtag. And so you can follow everything over here. And so my man Maxwell is coming over here. And so I told y'all we were going to get him. And so I got to get him real quick before we Superstar. What's going on, baby? What's happening? You all good?
How are you, Mr. Martin? Good. I'm great.
Looking clean?
I'm trying. You know, you don't want to come out here dusty. I mean, you got to put your cocoa butter on. You know, it is.
You ain't got no sense. Not the cocoa butter.
Well, you know, Vaseline, okay.
Shea butter?
No, I'm just keeping 100 Vaseline intensive care. Sorry, no product placement here. You know, just talking the truth. How you been, man?
Man, I'm good. Been busy, but it's all right.
I see you doing great things.
Well, you know, we trying to make it happen.
I watch everything you do. I get my alerts on all your broadcasts.
Well, that's what we're doing right now. So we're live as we speak. So, you know, well, I appreciate that. And so it was so funny. I was like, yo, we got to be done at 7. I'm like, snatch them.
You know, it's BMT. Or BWT, whatever you want to call it.
Man, how you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm happy. I'm making music. I'm centered. I have so many projects that I wish I could talk to you about, but I'd rather them happen than jinx them. But yeah, things are really good.
Now, you are busy, but why is it important for you to be here tonight?
Well, you know, last year, you know, a year ago I attended, of course. You know, they were honoring many amazing people who have done great things for the community and for mentorship. But I came and I was asked to sing for Cicely Tyson last year. And, of course, this year, my little sister, Alicia Keys, is being honored. And there was no way I could miss the opportunity to see her and to watch her yet again receive, you know, accolades for her years of support for not only the community, but for all children and people in the world.
Well, man, it's always good to see you. Looking clean. Last I saw you, of course, you were performing in National Harbor, killing it.
Trying my best, trying to get through. Tours are tough as you get older, but I'm just happy because the audience gives you that energy so that you can just power through.
And right now, a 78-year-old Ed Levert saying, "Man, please."
I wouldn't say that, but it's not easy. I'm not gonna say. But look, it's definitely like 50. We just did 50 shows in 2 months. So. You just do the math.
Oh, I understand.
And there's no auto-tune, okay? If I make a mistake, it's my real voice making a mistake. If I'm hitting that note, it's my real voice hitting that note. And I actually prefer it that way because at least the humanity of the music isn't lost, But I am doing my me.
I'm trying to get my voice back. Al just hit me 2 weeks ago. And so I got all these folks. Anita Baker sending me tweets saying, take this kind of honey and then do this and do that. And then David Mann and Tamala Mann saying, do this. It was all kind of folks.
Oh, she knows what's up. Yeah. Anita Baker is the person that taught me how to get my falsetto together. Okay. So when her album came out, Rapture, all those records, I would just pretend to sing like her when I was 16. And then, so thank you, Anita Baker. I love you so much for helping me get my voice on point. I might have to call you so you can help me keep my voice on point.
Well, man, always good to see you. We got to hang out next time again.
We always do.
You know it.
We just can't let people know how we hang out.
Right. We'll keep that secret.
It'll be a problem out here.
We'll keep that one secret. All right, baby. Good seeing you. Love you as well. All right, y'all. Real quick here. Two great people right over here. Of course, one is from H-Town, my city. Tina Lawson. And, of course, her husband as well, the great actor. How y'all doing? Good. How you doing, H-Town? Good seeing you. What's up, sir?
How are you?
I'm good. Good seeing both of y'all. How y'all doing?
You too. We're great.
I saw y'all roll through, and I said, look, we got to grab them before we go off the air. And so, H-Town, how you feeling? What's going on?
Feeling great. I'm happy to be here to support Susan and the CARE mentorship program because, we're mentors and we're passionate about it. So it's a pleasure to be here. You to our building and check us out.
Just invite a brother. I'm good.
We will. We're doing a play right now called No Place to Be Somebody, which is 50th anniversary. Great production. You should come and cover it.
Okay. Now where's the play?
It's going on now. It started this past weekend.
Which city?
In LA. Los Angeles. Waco Theater Center in Los Angeles.
Now, you know about mentoring because you've been training actors and mentoring folks as well. How important is that for someone who can sort of show you the ropes and say, let me lead you down a path?
Every single person in this building was mentored by somebody, whether good or bad, whether it was a great influence or whether it was an improper influence. And so, therefore, it's important for us who have been fortunate enough to have a good life or to learn something to be able to pass that on. We can't keep it unless we give it away. And so our whole mission is to give away what we've shared in the life that we've had.
And mentoring for you started at home with your children.
That's right. Well, mentoring started for me with someone who took me to see Alvin Ailey at 14, and it changed my life. And actually, my kids wouldn't be here without that person because it got me out of my small little world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been enjoying your Instagram page with all of your behind-the-scenes story. Okay, I only had 24 hours to make this dress, and this I made this. I've been cracking up laughing at those stories because it's the stuff nobody knows about.
Yeah, and it's all true.
Well, it's good seeing both of y'all, and so we'll definitely make it out.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. All right, y'all take care. Good seeing you. All right, folks. Again, that's Tina Lawson and, of course, Richard Lawson. All right, folks. I got to wrap this thing up. Don't forget, this is what Roland Martin Unfiltered does. There's no other show that does this. No other show focused on our community that's actually broadcasting live from events like this here and also live streaming these events, which is why we need you to support what we do. I need you to go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You can use Cash App. You can use PayPal. You can use Square as well. We need your dollars and your contributions for us to do more of these events. You just heard Reverend Jackson. He wants me to be at his Wall Street project, wants to be able to live stream those proceedings, those sessions, those panel discussions, those keynotes. And so this is why I created this show. Not just to say, oh, we got a show, let's talk about the issues. But for us to be able to go on the road, to be able to cover events where we are at that no one else is doing. Yeah, you got some media here, but those are people who are taking photos, done some interviews. Nobody else is actually live streaming their shows from here and also the event. So when we finish this live stream, we're going to throw the switch. We're going to then pick up the live stream of the actual event here, the National Cares Mentoring Gala. You heard Maxwell talk about performing last year. We had that stream. You also heard Cicely Tyson as well. And so we want you to support Roland Martin Unfiltered to make this possible. I'm back in the studio tomorrow, but on Thursday, we're going to be actually broadcasting live from Charlotte, North Carolina, NBA All-Star Game. I'll be there as well. And Friday, folks, powerful, powerful interview with Chuck D, one of the founders of Public Enemy. You do not want to miss this conversation. The interview last week with Ali Sadiq, y'all loved it. Chuck D dropped it. I'm telling y'all, it's going to be amazing. So we're going to have that interview for you this Friday. Nobody else is doing what we're doing. All right, folks, I got to go. And so y'all take care. And so you have a good one. Holla.